Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on Temis Resources new channel. Just want to let everybody know what we're going to be doing here. We'll be doing company updates, industry updates, answering people's questions. So if you have any, don't be afraid to send them over. And of course, introducing members of the team. So who better to join us and kick us off than President, CEO, and Director Michael Dehn. Mike, how are you doing today?
Great. Nice to meet you, Michael.
Good, good. Nice to meet you too. Glad to have you on. So, like I said, we're going to introduce you today, paint a picture of yourself for everybody. So start off by telling us some of your past experience.
So I was fortunate that I got dragged out of university. My profs used to let me write my exams early because I had a job offer back in 1994 to, at that time, a very small gold producer called Gold Corp. And 6 months after joining Gold Corp, they made a big discovery in Red Lake called the high grade zone. And I learned a lot about marketing, geology, communications from Rob McEwen, who was the big boss down the hall, and he let us kind of put our necks out on the line. We'd give him a proposal. He said, if you find something, we'll give you more. If you don't find something, you don't get any more. And yeah, he was really good at that. We did a little thing called the Gold Corp Challenge, and I managed that with Jens Patterson and Arlene Connolly. And the three of us took submissions from around the world. We gave away about almost $1 million in prize money for who could find the next 6 million ounces of gold in our mine. But the major work for us was we had to collect all the data for the mine and put it into useful format for all of the contestants from Russia, from South America, from Africa, from Australia. And the winners turned out to be an Australian group. You couldn't get much further away than they were. And second place was a gentleman out of Russia, and then one of I think the third place finalist was Marco Day, who's gone on to be a big success in mining. I think he's built $2 or $3 billion companies in the last 10 years. So it's a very exciting project to work on, lots of fun, and a good way to cut my teeth right out of university.
Wonderful.
And subsequent to Gold Corp, I've been running junior mining companies from about 2005 on, primarily in Quebec. Lots of industrial minerals, lithium, titanium, vanadium, iron. I've been kind of steering away from gold other than the directorships I've been on in the last 10 years. And partly that was Ontario's rules for claim staking changed, and Mining Act rules changed, and it became really cumbersome to do exploration in Ontario. But Quebec actually was making it more efficient, and they would deal with a lot of the communications you had to deal with through one organization instead of multiple. So Quebec's been sort of my go-to jurisdiction, and it's been a good career. I think I've been probably involved in 25 companies, public companies, since I started in the industry, and been involved with financings. If you go post Gold Corp days, of probably $250–300 million. So
okay,
it's been a good raise.
Yeah. So you've been doing mining for practically 30 years now at this point.
Yeah, pretty close.
So wonderful. So tell me what keeps you interested in it. Tell me the things that really attracts you to it.
I like projects that somebody's already spent a lot of money on, and probably because of metallurgical reasons, they haven't figured out an economic solution for it. So I'm not a big proponent of going out and drilling. I mean, drill a little bit that you know something's there, but then go figure out your metallurgy and figure out if you got something economic.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys are drilling, and then they work out their metallurgy and they realize, oh, we're only getting 50% recovery on this metal, and we're only getting 20% on this. Whereas, traditional gold systems that are the easy ones to work on, you're getting 80% recovery on the low end. And if you're pushing it, you can probably get 95 to 98% recovery. Okay. So with industrial minerals, some projects are a little tougher on the recoveries. And this little photo behind me, that's a pilot plant for titanium, vanadium, and iron that Temis will be using in about a week. And it is I started working with hydrometallurgists probably around 2010, 2011. And now I probably do more work on lab testing than I do on drilling, just because it's where your economics can really be improved. And I can go out and find a project that somebody spent $20 million on, get it for, I'd say for less than $5,000 in some cases. And by spending $1 million or $2 million on improving the flow sheet, all of a sudden we have an economic project that's got better than industry norm returns instead of being a loss. So
Interesting.
that's where I've really spent the focus of my energy, and I think it's working. And with Temis, it's to the point where we're actually now in control over 20 different IPs that are greener, improve recoveries, lower carbon footprints, less energy. And it's sort of a weird thing, I think, for geologists to be thinking about, because geologists always want to drill, make it bigger. And I'm more about, well, I want it more profitable. It doesn't have to be big as long as there's a good profit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, speaking of Temis, can you kind of tell me how you wound up working with them in the first place? How you wound up as president, CEO, and director? You're wearing a lot of hats right now. Tell me about that.
Well, so when I've been in the industry for a long time, and I'm out there, and a headhunter found me, and she was looking for candidates for Temis, and she saw my experience with titanium and vanadium before on a project adjacent to the one Temis had, and I actually consulted on Temis's project probably back in 2013, 2014, prior to Temis even existing as a company. So it turned out quite fortunate I had the experience with the commodity, which not a ton of geologists are familiar with, this kind of rock and how to do the mineral processing. But it also turned out that the chairman of the board, Kyler Hardy, and I had known each other on and off for 10 years. And we'd never done a transaction together, but was always a very pleasant communication. And it was, Kyler is more entrepreneurial and thinks ahead and has a lot of, likes new ideas. And I'm kind of the old guy that's, I work with mostly 80-year-old men now. All the metallurgists I'm working with at the management level, they're 79, 80 years old. And we're working now with the next generation, who are the 35 to 40-year-old guys. And it's, just having the ability of me working with the nerdy technical guys, and Kyler working more with the financial guys. We have a good team there. Rory, who's Kyler's right-hand man when it comes to technical stuff, Kyler kind of warned me. He said, you got to be wary of Rory. He's sometimes a little abrasive, and Rory and I, for some reason, have hit it off really well. And we don't always agree, but we always respect each other. So it's working quite well.
Awesome. So tell me then, so now you're there. Tell us about what your role looks like on the day-to-day. Like, break it down for people.
Well, right now I'm a little bit of chief bottle washer. I've got a bunch of help for some things, and some things just because there's not a lot of guys who have access to the lab. I'm dealing right now exclusively with the lab, but that will change in the next week or two. We'll bring on some help who can help promote the technologies we have. And because we are going to be running engineering studies on La Blache and on Piscanja, which is the project we just closed with Aaron Ventures, was a week and a half ago, that we want to have somebody who can put these feasibility studies and the economic studies together. Then I can deal more with the hands-on stuff in the lab and with marketing and communications, because between Dave and myself, we handle all the IR questions from shareholders, and that can be quite busy on some days.
Yeah, that's the thing when you're in a public company, is there's always two sides of the story. You got the public company stuff you have to handle, then you got the, hey, we actually have a company to run as well. So yeah, it's always at least two hats, and usually significantly more than that when you're in any sort of leadership role of any of these smaller companies, right?
Yeah, and Rob McEwen taught me something back in the Goldcorp days. Like, it doesn't matter if you were RBC with 10 million shares or a little old lady in Oklahoma with 10 shares. All shareholders are important. All shareholders should have access to management. And I put my name on the press release as my phone number, so people can actually reach out to me. A lot of other guys, they don't do that. So
that's true.
It's kind of you give respect back to the shareholders.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things, is investor confidence, man. You really want to know that the people that you're putting your money and your time into are people that are willing to hear you out and talk to you and willing to answer your questions. So, Mike, I think you did a great job so far of explaining your past. You've explained your experience and how you got involved in Temis. For the next video, we can dive deeper into the company itself, talk about what you guys are working on. So everybody stay tuned for that. And thank you for watching. You got any questions? Again, don't be afraid to send them over. We'll happily dive into those as well. But for now, Michael, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Michael.